Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome once again back to our second episode of our interview series where we are spotlighting youth voices in climate action and advocacy. So here in through this series, we hear from climate activists, leaders, change makers um, on the incredible works they're doing for the planet, for the sphere. So we want this platform to echo the demands, the ideas, suggestions, recommendations, and needs from these young activists. So today we have with us Mr. John Paul Rose. I'm very excited to welcome John. He's a 22-year-old climate activist, a writer, and global peace ambassador. John, thank you so much for being with us today, and we are very happy to have you here.
Thank you, Hannah, and it was great. It's great to be here, and thank you for inviting me to the platform. And looking forward to an engaging conversation.
Thank you so much, John. So you have such an impressive background. Yeah, you started so young. We could see that from your histories. So can you share about yourself a bit from the origin, like what you do, so that our audience will be able to connect to you more.
So I'm originally from Kerala, a place called Kottayam. So our family is from agriculture. So since childhood, I have been involved in agriculture, helping my parents in the field and around the kind of agriculture plantations and everything we do in Kerala. So that's how I got connected with nature and have an interest in environment and climate since childhood. So I used to engage in like tree plantation and other small kind of activities in my region, and also used to go to like small events and other like sessions, which gives me more information and continue my interest in environment. And currently, I am based in Belgium. I came for my master's studies here.
Yes, interesting. So, is there any point where you thought, okay, I want to fight for climate or this climate activism, that realization, okay, something bad is happening. So, is there any point where you felt like that?
So like also like since childhood, I grew up studying and traveling across Kerala and India. So I studied in different parts and also I traveled to different parts. So while traveling, like at an early age, like young people, we already like having a curiosity for learning and we are like constantly evolving with new thoughts and everything. So then I realized like things are not the same outside my particular rural box, because I have been seeing only like everything green, like and only hearing what's happening outside the world through like news or other things. But when I began to travel, I have seen like changes in the environment and cities that is completely full of concretes. And also like I couldn't get that connection to like constantly get involved in my like with nature like I was getting involved. So that was a turning point in which like I thought like, I should do something to get, I mean, continue the touch with nature, because like we grew up seeing nature, like spending time in nature, and it's like something which is inherent in kind of in the DNA. So it's like it cannot be like uprooted. So I wanted to that continue that momentum. But in initially I was in the course of like studies, I was more into like social issues, which was very much more visible than the environmental, and also it was also important in the public discourse. But later I realized like something like environmental climate issue is not that talked often, and it's like hardly in any kind of discussion. So I thought I should talk about it. And also I found it's very much linked to the society and also the other aspects, because if we don't have like a good environment and climate, then that itself impacts society, which depends on the environment, like society engaged in agriculture or on different landscape in different forms. Those will continue to be in trouble if we don't take up this issue. So that's how it started.
Interesting. I can also imagine how diverse, like how different our urban and rural communities are, like so much green and so much of buildings and no green at all. So I can understand where you're coming from. So I'm curious, like you started quite young. So if you can tell me at which age you started and what all platforms you had initially.
So when I was around like 12, 13, like I was mostly involved in like tree planting, because around the locality I used to like plant trees, because like few species, because mostly people plant like trees that are like fast growing or anything, but I kind of planted them for like, you might know like jungle jack. It's a species that's like like humans don't use it much often if it's for timber or anything, but it's very good for like birds and other species. So something I picked up when I was doing. Then I moved to another school. It's like 400 kilometers away from my hometown. So there, every June 5, we distribute these saplings or trees. So I used to take them home when I go home during the break in the bus, because some species I had no idea about it, and it's like native species. So I had no such species with me. So I take it home and I plant it at home. So these were the initial kind of things I did. Then when I went outside, when I finished my schooling, then there was like different protests and everything coming across, because I was free to go on because I had more time. So one of the first sessions I attended was about like saving the rivers. It's like a campaign and like an event organized, and also the waterman of India, the Rajendra Prasad, he was also there. Same, he was there. So he kind of talked a lot about the connection between all those water issues and how he kind of helped to bring water back to his region and how to like restore ecosystem and everything. Then when I moved to like Karnataka, I was involved in like there was a big project which came up, Yettinahole project, which divert the river water to another place, and many people were opposing that because it could cause like many ecological and also social issues. So through that, like when we go for a protest, we meet a lot of people, we talk with them, then we start discussing about other issues which come across. Then we kind of start forming our own community through that networking. So that might be like people coming from different spaces. So they might be also involved in other organizations or other protests. So we kind of share those information with each other and further participate in all those different initiatives. Then one of the biggest thing I did was I started to get involved with the Greenpeace, through which I began to like organize many events, activities, and everything, mostly connecting people to nature and educating them about climate change, environment, and also like getting involved in people in the climate and environmental discourse.
Yeah, that's very interesting to hear. So, were you at your school times when you were involved with Greenpeace?
The involvement with Greenpeace started in like when I was in my college. So I did like few campaigns within the region. Then I went to Delhi. When I was studying in Delhi, I got more involved with them.
It's very interesting. Quite a lot of work that you have done, huge works, and starting with planting with trees, very impressive. Um, Also, I wanted to ask you, like, is there any projects that you're currently working on, or you are huge works, and starting with planting with trees, very impressive. Um, Also, I wanted to ask you, like, is there any projects that you're currently working on, or you are, I know you have joined, you are doing your master's right now, so I'm just curious, like.
Yeah, there are like in India we are building a hub because marine environment and a concept related to that, it's not that talked often. So Sustainable Ocean Alliance is an international organization I worked before. So we are building a hub in India to connect people in India to get involved in marine environment and activities. Then I have another project. We work on building platform for young people to get involved in climate action and environmental awareness. So we kind of try to build educational materials by taking notes from local communities to and use it in connection with the scientific discourse on climate change to build like localized context in which how climate change is impacting the communities and region, and to educate schools and the policymakers on how they could use this understanding to better understand how climate change is impacting them and identify new solutions. And also there are like many other things on the table, which depending on the time I get involved here and there, but they're mostly to like drive larger actions, because before it was mostly like activism, but these days it's mostly also being an actor, like taking action into our own hands. So that's the main focus right now.
That is very interesting to hear, and also, as you said, like building platform for young people. So connecting to that, I all curious to know from you. So you started quite young, right from early in school. How do you think your peers see climate action? So we as NGOs, we also try to tap in youth because we know they have the most powers in changing anything or doing any actions, even when it comes to disasters, relief actions, preparedness, everything. So we are also trying to tap into youth. So what do you think? How involved are today's youth in this climate change, and are they talking about it? What do you think?
Yeah, so when it comes to like NGOs or even governments, they mostly think as like youth as outsiders, like a specific age group. So when we talk about youth inclusion, they always have a space for youth to involve as intern or volunteers or like any other platforms for young people, but they are mostly on the sidelines, but they are not much integrated into day-to-day efforts or like larger climate action or policy discourses. But even at this age, like if they're like 12 or 14, like in my age, like I did, yeah, during that time, I was thinking about all those things. But even now, when they're like even less than that, they think about environment, climate, and very articulate in those aspects. So when they reach like 16, 17, and 18, they are like in age, they are not equal to those adults, but in thoughts and discourses, they have like equal capability to contribute. So rather than making youth work for them, it is good to like work with youth to involve them in all those spaces too, because there are like hundreds of activists who like started to be concerned about environment, climate, and started to get into activism and also like trying to act on something. So it's very much important to catalyze these young people to like tap on their passion and interest and integrate them into those platforms. And so those young people can contribute to like new action solutions or policies, because each region have its own issues and none of the government or NGOs doesn't have any specialized team to tackle all those things. So when we discuss about India, it's more like a general policy or action, but there are no specialized actions or policies. So involving youth means like they could contribute more to the solution or actions addressing the issues that is faced in society. So one thing is this platform and having access to those existing platforms, not to use, but as an expert in their own field, expert in their own region, and also like the adults who are like not much involved in those spaces. So young people are also like scientists of those regions. So they know this region through their experience and also learning at the same time through their parents. So their ancestral knowledge and everything is still in their minds and this could be used. And another thing is many young people also like to start their own initiatives or actions. So it should also be funded and also be supported. So those things could kind of diversify the kind of climate action which we need, and also at the same time it could engage more young people involved in this climate and environmental space, because even in the future without a healthy and sustainable environment or climate we cannot survive. So having to transition the future society into a climate conscious society, it's better to like build it from now itself.
Yeah. Thank you so much for that. So you were mentioning you building platform for young people to be more engaged in climate change, right? I'm just curious, what all activities do you do to gain their interest in this?
Yeah, so currently we are trying to build a project where we create a platform so young people could add like a content to it. Let's say they
Mm,
find a climate issue in their region, so they can add the content to the platform so people can see more about it. And then through that, people can support these young people because they not only upload the content, they also show their work and how climate change is impacting them and what kind of support they are seeking. If it's financial or if it's to find an NGO to work on this issue or in their community, or they could share all those things. So in this way, young people could get support. And also this information could also be used in a more scientific or academic way, because young people become the citizen scientists, observing the nature, identifying the issues in the region. So the scientists could like study like specific observations. Because for instance, in my place, there's like frequent lightning happening during the monsoon and also this extreme rainfall, and which is very unusual. And something like this is which is not being studied often. So if young people
yeah.
start reporting these kind of issues to the scientific community, because like someone living in a particular environment, if they see something unusual, they could identify it much better than an outsider.
Mm,
So in this way, young people can be very much connected to the nature and also connected with the policy, academics, or the larger climate action group.
yeah. So that's very helpful. Um, you already mentioned about some things that governments and NGOs can do, like integrate them more into, policy making and decision makings. Is there anything else that you would like to add, like a direct, like practical takeaways that, like somebody from NGO or government hearing this could use?
They could integrate like youth or similar age groups, because it's very much possible for them and it doesn't cost them or
Mm.
doesn't harm them. So we already have like many platforms which like youth could be part of it, like within the region or like the regional level or the national level, because many issues which needs to be tackled and there are no solutions. And also like young people, like most of them move abroad or to other areas because they are passionate about something, so they cannot do those things. So it's a brain drain. And also at the same time, India being one of the youngest countries in the world, and also Asia being, and the world being the youngest ever has been. So it's very important to have young people in like all those different positions. I mean, not just to represent as youth, but the information, because we are learning a lot from internet, from everything we are observing, but everything is in the mind and nothing is coming out.
Mm.
So space should be provided to like, so that those things comes out. It's not in a harmful way, but it's like to help the country move forward, because we have farmers issues and none of these issues are discussed even at international level or regional level in relation to climate or environmental challenges. And also the coastal community is a similar way, and ecosystem changes like quarrying and like earth movers, like cutting down hills and everything. So these things needs to be of particular concern, and young people always talk about in many spaces, including adults. But adults, always being the head of the family or the region, doesn't get involved in the academic side or in the policy side or in the NGO or even the normal activism, like climate environmental activism in the larger space. But young people have this opportunity, and this opportunity should be given to those young people, because they are not trying to bring down the regional dynamics or anything, but being part of the sustainable coexistence in the country.
Yes, that was very interesting to hear. So this is a bit more personal question. Like, so we see a lot of global movements happening, consultations like COP. There's a lot of big places, even when young people are being involved, a lot of changes happening. Uh, do you see any change or progress in the climate action? Are you hopeful?
Yeah, like since the last 2 decades, or even in like last year since the Paris
Mm.
Agreement, we have seen like tremendous progress in climate action and awareness, but they are like mostly Eurocentric and also like
Mm.
very much focused on like in a more economic way. So the way in which it is done, it has not changed. So how we approach climate change or how we approach climate action or any kind of community needs, it hasn't changed, because mostly it's like an icing on the cake. It's mostly discussed among the elite groups or like those who could access these spaces. It's not discussed mostly with the grassroots people. There is no regional specificity, because every region has like specific climate. There are like dozens of climatic zones and dozens of ways, thousands of ways in which people perceive this climate and interact in the environment. And all those things are very much cultural as well. So those things needs to be like heard first to have like a good climate policy or climate action, because most of the things is like top to down approach. It should be like a bottom up approach. First, people should be heard, like what's happening in the region and what are the issues. Then it should be connected with the scientific or the policy discourse to elaborate with a larger climate action plan. But in a global scale, the climate agenda is getting popularity, because we have seen like loss and damage fund being agreed and other climate finance and other options coming up, and also like transitioning away from fossil fuels. Although this like the use of words are like very much tactical,
Mm.
and still there are very much ambiguity in it, but still some progress or like some uh, discourses or like interactions are happening. And more than ever, like many young people are involved in the climate action or climate awareness space, and also career in the climate space as consultants or professionals. So those things as well are like influencing. But on the larger side, as I said, as we continue to participate in this COP or other global events, we should also think about like how we could drive actions, because how we should listen to the people, each and every people, and how we could have like specialized and regional policies to drive climate action in the middle.
Thank you so much for that. Even I do agree to what you said, more regional specific activities or policies that come up, or also more integration of indigenous knowledge, again, like specific to different contexts. So it was very inspiring to hear your story and how aware you are on the climate related events and also policies. So we are almost coming towards the end of the interview. So I would like to hear your goals and aspirations, in climate action. So do you plan to work on something like as you move out of your college, or do you have any big dreams?
Something that I was mostly interested was like continuing with farming, because it's something like I have been interested in like since, but it's very difficult in a changing climate and changing landscape, and also like access to land is also like difficult because in the ecosystem dynamics, like a region, even if we have like a small plot of land, then what we do on those land is depend on the entire ecosystem. Sometimes it could start from like 100 hectares of land to much beyond. So it's very difficult to have a small plot agriculture to start. But so in that case, like we could explore possibility for like community farming and agriculture. It used to exist in many parts of India, including Kerala before, like people collectively managing and farming and doing agriculture, and also like less damage to the landscape, because once the landscape change, we cannot do anything. So that's one important focus. So land use changes are the major drivers of anything that could impact. On the other side, I also like to have, like I said, like platform for young people to get involved, but involved in a way like be like a meaningful engagement, because they have their own ideas and passion. So they should understand the things better, and they should be able to like find their own ways to like navigate, like start to an NGO or start a career in sustainable professional or go in academic way. So they should be well informed and should have to like sustain their community life, and also having to work on solutions, because we have large activism and awareness going on. But when we need climate action, we always look at industries or the government. But we could also do ourselves. So if industries, government, or NGOs or anyone support people with an action or idea, it should be like supported, and those things, even if it's like a planting of trees, restoration, or like any other activities, it should be helped. So these things are like my like interest. So I hope those things work out.
Yeah, hopefully it will. It will. And we are also working towards, building a national platform. At least the people who are in India can come together, especially youths, and discuss their ideas. They can connect with other people, other resources. So hopefully we'll all see this in the coming years. Thank you so much, John, for sharing your experience and perspectives with us, the recommendations. It was truly inspiring to hear your story, and we hope that other students hearing this, not only students, young people, anybody hearing this will also be inspired. So before we wrap up, if you would like to let us know where people can learn more about the work that you do, or are you active in any, like in any medias, if anybody wants to connect to you.
Yeah, people can reach out to me in LinkedIn or Instagram or even in Twitter. But I don't post regularly, but if somebody send a message, I respond them as soon as possible. And also, like if you go to any of those profiles, it also have like link to other profiles. So you can also have access to my email or
Definitely. Thank you so much, John. Any last words from your end?
Okay, thank you. It was great to have this conversation. And also, like, if in the future, if anything comes up, also I would love to discuss it, and also like help in whatever way I could possible to engage youth in India to be like get involved in climate action, and also be follow their passion and interest in this space. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Definitely. Thank you so much. That was very wonderful talking to you. It's been a pleasure to learn the activities that you do, and we are very even more happier to hear about the things that you're currently doing. And we hope that you achieve all your dreams. And we'll also work towards building, much more platforms for youth to engage more in climate action. So thank you so much for your time, John. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thanks a lot.